Okay, so welcome to this lecture of machine learning training program, and in this particular lecture we are going to talk about how this line got fed between the data point. In the last lecture we talked about a lot of things like how to classify this S3 student, but in this lecture we are going to talk about how this line actually got fed between these two data points and how it is able to classify everything. Okay, so let's take an example here. Let's take an example with a random points, which is, let's say this is a data point, this is a data point, okay, and this is the another data point we have, okay, and then this is the data point of the first class, and then this is the data point of the second class, which is this, let's say this and this. Okay, so now our job as a machine is to fit a line between them. Okay, our job as a machine is to fit a line between them, which can divide these two data points perfectly. But as a human we know that this line is going to be like this. As a human we know that this point is going to be like this, but as a machine we don't know that. So what logistic regression does, just like linear regression, it is going to draw a random line. Okay, it is going to draw a random line between the data points. Okay, so this is how that random line looks like. Now what it is going to do, it is going to calculate the error. Okay, it is going to calculate this error, and by calculating the error it is going to calculate that how bad this line has got fit between these two data points. Okay, how bad this line is, according to our model, how bad it is. So it is going to calculate the error. So now in the linear regression we remember that it used to calculate the distance between the data points, right? It used to calculate the distance between the data points, but in the linear regression case, what it is going to do, it is going to first of all calculate the number of errors it has. The number of errors we have in the data set are, two, right? This is the misclassified points and this is a misclassified point. We all know that. Okay, these two are the misclassified points that we have in our data set. But we want this data set to, we want to reduce this error. Okay, we want to reduce this error. So how we can minimize this error? Yes, we talked about this. It's gradient descent. Whenever we want to minimize the error, we use gradient descent for that. Okay, so by using gradient descent, we try to minimize the error, and while minimizing the error we saw that this line, okay, this line is gone. Okay, this line is not here for now. Okay, this line is not here, and we have the another line which was able to fit like this. Okay, and now we have reduced the error, exactly, right? We have reduced the error, and let's remove the circle. This one is perfectly fine. And now what we want is, we have reduced the error to 1 this time. We have reduced the error to 1, which is this green point, and again it will calculate, it will try to minimize the error by reducing the error using the gradient descent. So now what will happen, it is going to have another line. It is going to have another line like this. Okay, now as you can see that the line has been perfectly divided the data points. The line has perfectly divided the data point by 2 steps. Like first, what it did, first it calculates the error on a random line, to see that how bad the line is, and then in the next step it tried to reduce the error using gradient descent. Okay, it tried to reduce the error, and it keeps reducing the error until we got our desired output. Okay, but there is one thing I must tell you here. There is one small thing I must tell you here, that this error calculation we did using the gradient descent. This minimization of this error uses something known as log loss function. Okay, uses something known as log loss function. In reality, in order to properly use the gradient descent, we use something known as log loss function to minimize the error in the case of logistic regression. So let's understand what log loss function is. Okay, so let's come to the point where there were error. Okay, let's come to the point where there were many error. Let's come to that point. Okay, this was the initial random line that our data set, our logistic regression model fitted. Okay, now we will be calculating error out of this. Okay, we will be calculating the error. So let's say we are going to calculate the error. Okay, and this error is how we are going to calculate it. This error uses something known as log loss, and what log loss theoretically do is it is going to punish the misclassified point more. Although it is going, the log loss function punish all the data points that are there in the graph, all the data points that we have, and it is going to punish more. It is going to punish the data points which has been classified more. Okay, so we in the simple term we can say that whatever the incorrectly classified points are in the red area and the green area, the error function will assign a large penalty to those who have been assigned incorrectly. It is going to assign a very large penalty. Okay, and classified points will be having very smaller penalty, although everyone will be punished for some reason, but the misclassified points are going to be punished more. Okay, you'll be understanding what do I mean by punish here. You'll be understanding that, don't worry. Okay, so now what we do, we obtain the error function by adding all the errors. Okay, so let's take a marker here, and let's say this error point has been punished like this, and this error point has been punished like these. Okay, only small ones, only small. This is the blue points are showing you the punishment level. Okay, now these error points have been punished like these. So if we calculate the total error, that means if we calculate like 0, not 0, these errors, let's say 0 plus big 1 plus small 1 plus small 1. Okay, what it did, it basically calculates the error here. It calculates the total number of error by adding them. Okay, it calculates the total number of errors by adding them simply. Okay, now what we are going to do, as we did in the last one, as we did in before, that this line is going to be moved somewhere. So let's move that line first of all. Let's remove this line, and we'll be having another line, right? Like all the green points on one side and all the red points on other side. Now what we are going to do, it is going to remove these errors. Okay, not basically remove, it is going to reduce these errors. The errors that were really large, it is going to remove them, and it is going to reduce the punishment of these errors. Okay, it is going to reduce the punishment, and maybe some of the already classified points are going to punish more. Okay, little bit more, not too much, but little bit. And the point where we'll be having minimum error, is going to be our lowest error function. Okay, it's going to be our lowest error function. Okay, so basically we see the idea is to jiggle the line around the minimize error. Okay, we have to take this line, we have to take this error line and move around. Okay, we have to take this line and move around everywhere so that it is able to divide the points, divide the two types of two classification point into separate ways. Okay, so to minimize the error, we have to move this whole line. Okay, we will be keep moving this line until the error is at the minimum as possible, until the error is as minimum as possible. But in general, when we consider this sum, okay, this sum we are talking about, in general, when we consider the sum gets smaller since we have correctly classified points that we are going to, that were before the misclassification. This sum is going to get lower and lower and lower and lower, and lower and lower, because we are making a penalty, we are giving a penalty to the misclassified points, and every time we are going to make that sum lower. Okay, every time we are going to make that sum lower. Okay, so this whole process is known as gradient descent again. Okay, whole process of minimizing the error function is known as gradient descent. And if you want to reduce any error function, if you want to reduce any error, you will be using gradient descent for that. That is why gradient descent was really, really important. Don't worry if you don't understand it for now. Okay, very famous line by Mr. Andrew Ng. Don't worry, because in the future lectures I'm going to connect all the dots. Right now you just understood this for the first time, and then when I'll be connecting the dots with your mathematics and then with your coding part, it will make much more sense. So don't worry for now about this. Okay, so that is how we are going to implement the logistic regression. Logistic regression include that it use some kind of function called as log loss function to reduce the error every time, to reduce the error, to be helpful for gradient descent, to reduce the error every time. Okay, and gradient descent is responsible for minimizing the error, and it will keep minimizing the error until we'll reach the lowest minimum error as possible. We'll still be having some error because equation never vanish. So basically that is why whenever we apply gradient descent to an equation, it will keep reducing until we reach the lowest error as possible. So let me write it here. Let me write this one here, that minimizing error is minimizing error is done by gradient descent. Okay, so now you have understood the concept of gradient descent, that it reduces the error, and in the future lectures we are going to talk about how gradient descent reduces the error, but for now this is enough for you to know, and in the future lecture we'll learn how we will do that in this training program. Okay, and in the next lecture we're going to talk about we are going to solve some more problems, just like we did for the university, we did for the spam email detector, all this kind of stuff. So we are going to solve some more problems theoretically, and then we will be making a lot of projects. So trust me on this, just move forward, and we'll meet in the next lecture. To change your